All right, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast. And today is a 1 vs 1 on Kholodny Ferma Winter between our blue Soviet player Kodziro and on the left side our red OKW player Jove. And for anybody that isn't from this planet and may have just arrived and just recently discovered Company Heroes 2, Jove is easily one of the best players in Company Heroes 2 today. He is #1 in all of the armies except U.S. forces, which he is a mere #3. So this should be a very, very good match. I'm casting this live from the live replay section. I happened to come across it, and I figured, it's going to be a good cast. And these Stern Pioneers make some reinforced steel barricades in front of the cover, so his opponent cannot use that against him. Engineers now coming down to the bottom, taking the territory points, and one conscript going up to the top. And just to give Kodziro a little bit of credit, if he is actually matched up with Jove, that means he's got to be pretty good to be auto-matched with Jove. So we'll give him that credit as well. And now up top, OKW putting some sandbags down, getting ready for the later end of the game. And that Schleper moving around the map and just using it as a scout, using it to take out some of those fence lines there. Makes it a little bit easier for him to get into that church. And also his opponent can't use that fence line against him, etc. And the Stern Pioneer is going to seek some cover from these conscripts here, and Volksgrenadier is going to try and get inside the house by the looks of it. And is he going around the back? Indeed, there was some deep snow there slowing him down for just a moment. And conscripts running away here, only 5 left, and really no match for the Stern Pioneers and the Volksgrenadiers combined. Now the engineers have successfully taken that fuel point, and now moving on to the munitions point. Additional conscripts here going towards the center of the map. I'm going to be taking that munitions point here for the OKW. And Stern Pioneers moving towards that fuel point. And here comes that Schleper coming on down. Going to scout all what's going on here. Notices the engineers capturing this munitions point. Here comes some Volksgrenadiers now to stop this. And Schleper can take quite a bit of a beating. And you can just sort of let it scout out a little bit. And now 2 squads of conscripts, and now the Schleper in a little bit of trouble and cannot run over troops. It used to be able to run over troops. It cannot anymore. And may lose the Schlepper here, but it wouldn't be too big of a deal. And he's going to try and get it out of there best he can. Doesn't really want to lose it. And the conscripts chasing it down. Its engine now completely damaged. These Volksgrenadiers just getting some free shots here in on these conscripts. Conscripts decided to stop and take care of the Volksgrenadiers first, then take care of the Schlepper. And which was a good idea. Now going to be taking that munitions point back here for the Russians. Lost the Schlepper. Not the biggest deal, but I'm not sure what he was planning on doing with it. A lot of people like to scout with it, but a lot of people don't like to lose it either. And now the Volksgrenadiers pushing forward. Except there are 3 squads of conscripts here against 2 Volksgrenadiers, so we'll see how that works out, if he's even going to go down there or not. Stern Pioneers now taking that victory point up top, which will give the OKW 2 victory points. We'll start taking down the score of the Russians even more, 464 to 500. And the Russians are at 37 and 23 to 27 and 15, so pretty even as the OKW has that natural handicap. Volksgrenadiers inside the house here. 3 shots coming out of the bottom here. 4 shots, rather, out of the bottom, 1 in the top. And conscripts have some excellent cover, but MG34 now moving up. And forces him away. Oh, Volksgrenadiers in Russian territory, taking some territory points over here and getting some free shots in on some conscripts. Actually took one out there, getting some free experience on those Volksgrenadiers. And there they go. And now we have some engineers out in the field here with the flamethrower. And we have 2 MG34s. Another MG34 is arriving, being brought in now, and this one going to be set up somewhere around here to stall all the troops moving in. Indeed, just setting it up right there. Slightly behind the cover of these little wagons there. Not too good of a cover, but got to make do with what you got. And one of the MG34s inside the church. 1 Volksgrenadier down at the bottom here, and 1 Volksgrenadier moving towards the munitions point. And we have a scout car now, Yeel Russian clown car with the flamethrower, but it's moving right through two MG34, so it takes some instantaneous damage. Already down to half health, and gonna start flaming up inside the church here. But still taking so much damage just from that one run through there. And now the Volksgrenadiers come in here to help out, and MG34 gonna try and make it out. Loses that whole MG34. Didn't take it out fast enough. Maybe he was confident that MG34 would start firing and take it out, but that was definitely a loss for Jove there. Now 2-star engineers here flaming up. The MG34 picks up and runs. Will make it out of there. Now 3 squads of conscripts going after 1 squad of Volksgrenadiers. Gets inside the church. They're going to probably pop out the other side and run on home. Pioneers going to try and get in the church before the conscripts do, and they do, but they're not going to last too long. Gets 3 squads. And looks like the couple squads here are going to be moving over to the victory point. Going to take that wall. They're attacking, but no, just going to keep moving. No, going to stand there indeed. You know, the engineers repairing up that scout car. And Stern Pioneers doing pretty good, actually, against these conscripts here. Did not get Molotovs, so unable to throw a Molotov inside that church. Munitions point now being captured by 8 conscripts here. And the Stern Pioneers don't really serve a chance there against the 8 of those, so they run away. Now Volksgrenadiers down to 4 men, and that squad loses 2 instantly in that negative cover there. Another engineer squad out on the map here, going to be taking the center victory point. Another scout car is out on the map as well to equip those engineers with. And now going to take this territory point here, and that scout car is just chilling over here. Just now going to be moving it into the center. I'm going to take it and put these conscript, or these engineers in it rather. And he decides to move past the victory point. I'm not sure, indeed. Well, he puts it inside the church here, or inside the building rather. And was kind of a decent, got a hit on those Volksgrenadiers there, but stopped the capture of the victory point. I figured he would take that victory point first, but he definitely wanted to see what was going on past this.
Mobile command has been set. The static post is now in operation.
Conscripts up top here, and looks like they're moving towards that victory point. Meanwhile, taking the victory point at the center. No, still not taking that victory point, which is sort of odd, as it's wide open right now and could easily be taken. Now the Volksgrenadiers here in a little bit of trouble, and down to 3 men. That flamethrower tearing them up. And you're now going to be running on home. Scout car down here now taking the Germans' territory point right in front of their base. Gonna make him have to run around. Ooh, and he runs right over a mine by the looks of him. A shoe mine. Perhaps was on the ground there. I actually didn't see what was on the ground that he ran over. I think it was a shoe mine. I don't really understand what else it would be. And now lost a ton of conscripts there. Lost 3 conscripts out of that squad. You know, conscripts moving up and going to be taking the territory point. Did take that victory point, but didn't take that center victory point, which I found odd, as he had plenty of opportunity to do so. Engineers now trying to take the fuel point, but I don't think it's going to happen. 2 Volksgrenadier squads here are going to be pushing up on him, and they're too far to use that flamethrower on. Down to 2 men. He's going to try to hold on to get this fuel before he has to retreat, which could be bad. Down to 1 man now. And may make it out of there. Looks like he's going to make it up, but he's going to have to run past these Fallschirmjägers, and it's looking pretty grim now. And that was his downfall there, just waiting a little bit too long to take that fuel point. Should have just let that fuel point go. Could have saved those engineers, but hindsight is 20/20. Volksgrenadiers now pushing into the center. Going to take this back from nobody, rather, since it's neutral and wasn't taken by the Russians, which I felt that he had a very, very good chance to do that. Conscripts now going to get inside the church here. Going to be firing at the Volksgrenadiers. Fallschirmjägers now coming around the corner here. Forces those conscripts out of that church in a quick hurry. Got a Rakettenwerfer just chilling up here. Ready to take out those scout cars. And Stern Pioneers up here taking the victory point. Volksgrenadiers up here taking the fuel point. The top point there belongs to the Russians, which I'm sure will not be for long. Back at the Russian base here, re-equipping that scout car with some engineers. We'll see if these engineers are indeed upgrading that flamethrower. And now we have a Dushka heavy machine gun out on the field. And as you can see, he does have 1 rapid-fire anti-tank. Dushka armor penetration increased by 3%. And I actually have 3 of these for my Russian army. 3 replicas, repeats, and you can put 3 of them on there, and it's a little over 9% increased armor penetration, which is pretty nice. But the Dushka doesn't have that much armor penetration to begin with, so 9%. Really doesn't help it all that much, but it's kind of humorous to use sometimes. And the conscripts pushing forward on the MG34. And do they have Molotovs though? That is the question. He does have Molotovs. Now going to push out the scout car right up to the house there. Fallschirmjäger's doing huge damage. Panzerfaust hits the back end, destroys that scout car. And now flaming up the inside of the house there, but the MG34 will make it out of there barely. Any more damage would have lost that whole squad there. And now Engineer running on home, going to make it out of there. And 2 conscripts pushing forward and burns out the Volksgrenadiers, forces him out of there. Meanwhile, up top, Engineers holding out against the Volksgrenadiers. Engineers escaped the scout car. As the Volksgrenadiers here have a Panzerschreck, and they're going to come around the corner and take it out. Raketenwerfer also coming up. It's going to put the Raketenwerfer over here, so when that scout car tries to move away, it's going to run right into the Raketenwerfer. And it looks like he's just given up that scout car there. Didn't really have a chance. Schwere Wehrmachtschlepper, or Schwere Panzer headquarters, all the way in the back there. And that's an unusually far back Panzer headquarters. Usually you see it just about a little bit further up, somewhere around here, so that it covers the center victory point. Fallschirmjägers and the Dushka, and conscripts now going at it. Conscripts on forward. You gotta throw a Molotov. But again, you really don't want to throw Molotovs too much against a higher-ended player, or grenades for that matter, since it's typically just a waste of munitions, because most high-ended players realize what you're doing long before you're going to do it, and as soon as you throw, they're going to either move, juke, or retreat. So it ends up being a waste of resources, although if you retreat your opponent, that does have some intrinsic value to that, just because if your opponent retreats, they're no longer on the map. So it is essentially like you killed them for a few seconds, I suppose. So that, indeed, there is value in retreating your opponent. But you mostly want to reserve that for an MG34, which isn't going to be able to get out, even with good reflexes, isn't going to be able to get out just in time, although you can typically get it out before or just as it starts. I'm going to salvage up this wreck here, going to get some free stuff. 5 fuel for the OKW, which is actually pretty good for the OKW considering they have such a handicap. Salvaging is so good. Now conscripts pushing forward here. Gonna force out the Raketenwerfer. And now MG34 moving up 2 Volksgrenadiers as well against all these conscripts here. Puts that MG34 good and far back. Gonna force away the Russian army here. Instead, they're just gonna go up to the victory point, take that instead. Russians own the bottom side of the map, whereas the OKW owns the center and the top side of the map. But I don't know for how long, as we have some conscripts out there taking that victory point. Engineers inside the building here holding out with that flamethrower. Can't get too close to that. And that Dushka over here is stopping the progress as well. And that MG34 is just barely outside the range of that Dushka. And we have an ISG out on the field. Looks like it's firing at that Dushka. And sooner or later, going to get a good hit. Should pick that up and start getting that out of there as soon as possible. And when is it going to hit? When's going to be the good hit that ISG gets? And still firing away. And blam, there's a pretty good hit. Didn't really kill too much, but pinned it. Oh, engineers and conscripts pushing forward, pushing the Volksgrenadiers out of there so they can take some of the territory back to the fuel point. MG34 has pushed up a little bit. Along with the Volksgrenadiers take a Molotov, and they get out of there. And see, as you can see, most higher-ended players will not sit in a house with a Molotov or a grenade or something like that. He got out pretty quick there. He did take a little bit of damage, but usually it's just, it ends up not being worth it all that much. Now the Su-76 pushing forward. And going to turn around here. Could use a barrage ability on that MG34. We'll see what he decides to do, or at least use the barrage on the ISG if he can spot and see where that is when it fires for a quick second on the map. Conscripts and Volksgrenadiers going at it. The Volksgrenadiers have way better cover. Here comes a Molotov And that's what the Molotov's good for there, is at least denying cover from your opponent. Whereas it didn't do too much damage to him, and he moved away in time. But it simply denies cover. Here we go. We're going to deny cover again. And that is one use for the Molotov cocktail. And Storm Pioneers here not going to do so good against these conscripts and engineers anyway, as they have such low armor, low health, yada yada. And that munitions point will belong to the Soviets shortly. And now we have an M5 half-track here with guard rifle infantry. And they have the PPSH guard rifles here. And now pushing forward. And I'm going to try and take the fuel point back. That half-track here. Now a quad cannon. And the Su-76 up there as well. Both Grenadiers pushing forward, going to try and shoo away these conscripts, but we have some engineers over here taking territory as well. So giving Jove a run for his money here. And now the guards taking this fuel point, and they were kind of over an MG34 just quite can't see or hit them. He's got to move up just a little bit more. Perhaps his vision is blocked. And now Grenadiers pushing forward. And he's just going to run these engineers on out of here. Doesn't really want to deal. He did what he came here to do, and that's take some territory. Now these Volksgrenadiers here are going to be forced to stand there for a little while. They're going to be out of the game, essentially, for a little bit. And a couple conscripts here now going to be repairing up this M5. Well, now a quad cannon. And those Lend-Lease tactics so good because your conscripts can just repair anything. And now Uran. That was a very, very unnecessary Ura. And you definitely don't want to. That's 20 munitions that you could have used later on for something else, for something unforeseeable. And now the MG34 here using armor-piercing rounds and does so much damage, just more than the Dushka, which really, really boggles my mind, as the Dushka uses a way bigger round. But I suppose the Germans have superior technology in terms of the armor-piercing rounds, tungsten and whatnot, but still it sort of boggles the mind. The Dushka does have a armor penetration ability that you can use, but it's nowhere near as good as the MG34. Fallschirmjäger is pushing in with the Fallschirmjägergewehr and does so much damage and pushing forward on these conscripts here. And they're just going to have to back out. Maybe use a Molotov just to deny the cover here. Ooh, took a good shot from the ISG, and he is going to use a Molotov. Nope, decides to cancel it just as he retreated there. Solka now taking a shot there from the Panzerschreck, and may take another one as he didn't take the long way around. Oh, almost took another one, but it hit the ground. Fortunately for the Su-76. Fallschirmjägers and the Rakettenwerfer. Rakettenwerfer just going to stay here and take this fuel point. Meanwhile, the Fallschirmjägers going to move up and take that territory point down here. The bottom engineers and conscripts going to force away these Volksgrenadiers. They just got done taking the bottom victory point there, but now going to have to get out of here, as there's quite a bit of Russians down at the bottom here. We've got those guards, conscripts, and the engineers. Engineers just going to hop the fence, chase after the Volksgrenadiers, and take one of these territory points here. And that ISG set up all the way up here. And nothing much going on right now. Using some conscripts to repair up that quad cannon and that Dushka all the way back here as well. And those engineers now taking the territory point right in front of the German base. So some of the Russians up top there, some of them at the bottom, owning the bottom and the top, not really going for the middle so much. Now the Stern Pioneers and the guards going at it. Those guards have PPSH, not necessarily the PTRS guards. And now the engineers holding out from the Volksgrenadiers. They're not going to last too long, just really using them as a distraction at the moment. Now the Panther out on the map, And moving forward is getting that Pindle-mounted MG42 machine gun, which you don't see all the time. You actually see some players avoid getting that, as it's really not all that useful. Sometimes you're really low on munitions. Ooh, and a big old bomb goes off on that Dushka heavy machine gun there. The bundle grenade from the Fallschirmjäger. And now firing away at the church here. The Dushka heavy machine gun all alone at this church and taking huge damage. And that Dushka is ready to be picked back up. Looks like those conscripts could go do that and take that back, because he doesn't really want to lose a Dushka, as a Dushka is so useful. It does good damage and suppresses very quickly. The only problem, its armor penetration is just pretty bleh, not good at all, when it should be much better. And I hope Relic gets on that sooner or later. They did actually buff the Dushka. It was like 4 or 5 patches ago, but I just don't think it was enough. Guard rifles here holding out against that Panther. And now we have an M4C Sherman out on the map. That call-in from Lend-Lease. And not going to really do too much to the front end of that Panther. Panther's so strong on the front end. And now that Dushka here is in trouble. Just picked it up. And 3 men should just retreat this out of here. We need to retreat those guards to just 1 man. He points out the guards. Oh, and he hits a point blank there. That was a bloody shot. And Conscript pushing forward and throws an anti-tank grenade at them. But he doesn't have 75% health, so it does not damage the engine. And now takes another shot there from the Su-76. And that Dushka in big trouble. Just so little health. You can barely even calculate how little health that is. Down at the bottom here, Volkswagen is taking the munitions point, and we have some Stern Pioneers taking the victory point. Conscript still trying to hold out and take this munitions. And with the loss of, no, did not lose that M4C. It just needs repairs all the way back there. And the Dushka was taken out. No, not taken out. Still so low. And now the Su-76 is going to turn here and get a frontal armor shot in on that Panther. And now is the time for an anti-tank grenade, as he would damage its engine. Has to be below 75% health, or the anti-tank grenade itself, or Panzerfaust, or what have you, needs to take it below 75% health. Or it could be at 75% health. Either way, it's pretty much going to damage the engine around there. And using that Ura ability again, but there's nothing around. I'm not really sure what he's doing with that Ura ability. I mean, he is getting up where he needs to be quick, but the problem is like, what did it do exactly? So if you would have saved this Ura ability for now, he could have actually been Urang and moved forward and hit this with an anti-tank grenade, but he can no longer do that now because he doesn't have his Ura cooldown. So that's why you don't use Ura for no reason, because you could be using it right now on that Panther, taking out its engine, and now that Panther would be forced to push back with a damaged engine. It would not want to go forward, and he would not have lost his Su-76. There he goes. It's the engine now, but it was way too late. And now this M4, this Sherman finishes that Panther, and it is abandoned. It can actually be taken by the Russians now. And he's going to equip there with puts the Stern Pioneers by the looks of it in there. I think those were Stern Pioneers. Either way, he picks the Panther back up, and it's heavily damaged. And he's trying to hold out, and this one more shot from this Sherman from the rear, and he will destroy this. Oh, and he's still deflecting. So unlucky. Unbelievable. Now he needs to throw an anti-tank grenade. If he can throw an anti-tank grenade, he will be lost. Loses that, but loses the Sherman at the same time. And again, I think that's all of this what that went on here, losing the Sherman, losing the Su-76, is because he used Ura too early. If he would have just saved that Ura, he could have Ura'd forward, hit that Panther. It would have damaged the engine, which would have discouraged him from the battle, and he would have backed off. And that Su-76 would have gotten away. So lesson learned in terms of Ura. Anybody watching this, do not Ura for no reason, because you never know when you really need it. Fallschirmjäger Gewehr's jacking up those conscripts, but did not kill any. Very surprising. Now in the center here, another Sherman has been called in, as he can call in Shermans pretty much whenever he wants, as soon as he gets 135 fuel. ISG gets decrewed. Now pushing forward at the house there, takes out the front end of that house. MG34 now in trouble. The quad cannon pushing forward. And 91 to 412 here, taking those victory points. All 3 victory points belong to the OKW. And now down here, the conscripts pushing forward. And it looks like they're going to try and take the victory point or the munitions point. I would definitely suggest going for the victory point at this point because he needs all of those that he can get. Schwer Panzer headquarters firing away on that Sherman did pretty good damage. Looks like he took a Panzerschreck as well. And now that ISG is going to be backing up out of there. Could use that ISG to turn around and just hit that Panzer headquarters or use it against the infantry. And now the Sherman doesn't look like it's going to make it. The Volksgrenadier is just going to chase it down here. And the quad cannon doing its best to stop these Volksgrenadiers. And all he has to do is get inside the house here. And doesn't have to play Ring Around the Rosie. All he has to do is get inside the house, but he's suppressed right now. So he's trying to get in there as best he can. And this Sherman is desperately trying to get away. And it looks like it will get away. He is now pinned, so he will get away for now. Dushka heavy machine gun is available to be picked up as well. Center victory point now being taken by Dushka. Firing away on that Raketenwerfer. 2 Raketenwerfers out on the map. And the quad cannon pushing forward. And there's 2 Raketenwerfers. Takes a Panzerschreck shot. And is that... Oh, Raketenwerfer does not fire. Very, very lucky. Quad cannon there. Fallschirmjäger firing away on the backside of this Dushka. Dushka going to be lost. There it goes. Loses that Dushka. And we'll see if he wants to pick that up. He could pick that up with something, maybe Volksgrenadiers or what have you. And that would be a very, very good item to have for the OKW. Why not? As it's a free Dushka. And now the top victory point going to be belonging to the Russians very soon. So he's trying his best to stay in the game. 53 to 395. I have seen many, much closer games before. I've seen people come back with 1 victory point and take hundreds of points from an enemy and win the game. Engineers there run right into these Stern Pioneers. Stern Pioneers now burning up. And gonna get out of there. I don't know if they take any damage from that flamethrower or not. Looks like they did. Looks like they took a little bit. That's kind of a good question. You know, the Fallschirmjäger running away, going on home. Now taking that munitions point up top. The victory point being taken back by the OKW. Conscripts trying to defend it and throw Molotov on those Stern Pioneers, but it just didn't do enough. That hot water bath. And Molotovs right now are just a little underpowered, I'd say. They're really, honestly, best for denying cover, as you've seen many times this game, or if there was an MG in the field. And he's going to scrap this, which is strange, and get some fuel out of it, which is cool, because the OKW really needs fuel, and they gather it so slowly unless you actually specialize and do fuel transfer. But that Dushka could come in handy for sure, as a Dushka is a very good machine gun in terms of infantry, not so much for you know, destroying armor like an MG34 or 42 is. I'm gonna throw an incendiary grenade here on that Dushka, and Dushka running away there, and that hot water didn't destroy any of them just yet. Fallschirmjäger inside the house here, but in big trouble there. They get out as there's a quad cannon and many conscripts moving in. And here we go, 2 Raketenwerfers set up, going to be launching dual rockets there at the Sherman. Does not finish it off. Now multiple conscripts pushing forward, and a couple 3-star conscripts, which makes them very good. And now that center victory point being taken back by the OKW. The top victory point also belongs to the OKW. Desperately needs to take back something here, either the top or the center. And now the conscript's down to 2 men. Throws a Molotov, but that was a very unnecessary Molotov, as he was pretty much already moving. The quad cannon pushing forward, and gonna try and avoid that Panzerschreck, but he takes that hit. And gonna take another hit here from the Volksgrenadiers. Oh, and he eats point blank that quad cannon. And that quad cannon did really learn them Volksgrenadiers something. They run around the corner at the wrong time. And I thought they would be able to get a Shrek off, but was unable to. He lost 3 or 4 of them in a second there, which sort of makes sense, I suppose, if you walk into a quad cannon. Now we have a second Sherman out on the field. Second Sherman's researching that 50 cal. Now going to repair up. Such convenience is the Lend-Lease tactics. Repairing up, and that quad cannon there with conscripts. Bringing over another one to help repair. Very unnecessary, but why not? Let's get the whole gangbang on it. Gangbang! Repair gangbang! There he goes. Repairs that up in a quick hurry. 3-star quad cannon. And we have some conscripts down here defending. Did take that center, and I'd like to see a couple conscripts go up top, as there really isn't too much. There's an MG34 here, but could easily get around that. And does he still have a Dushka? He does, and it's facing the center there. It covers the majority of the victory point there. Now pushing forward, 3 Volkswageners pushing at the church here. The church, such a strong building. It takes so long to take out a church. And now bringing up those Raketenwerfers too, both of them camouflaged, both Fallschirmjägers in the mix as well. Going to get in and out of that church there. And is he going to throw a bundle grenade or an incendiary grenade to deny this church or not? Doesn't look like he's going to do that. Sherman pushes forward but backs up immediately. Raketenwerfers, both of them sitting here. And these Shermans got to watch out. There's 2 Raketenwerfers and multiple Panzerschrecks. And this is not the best idea. He needs troops up there first. There's a 3rd Raketenwerfer. And I'm not sure what he was thinking there, as he took way too much damage, a lot of unnecessary damage. And now these other Sherman going to take some unnecessary damage. Needed these troops up there first. He should have pushed these troops up there first, then the tanks, as he knows there has to be some Raketenwerfers up there, but he didn't see them due to that camouflage. But again, there's always, if your opponent has Raketenwerfers, they are around somewhere. They're just camouflaged. And now pushing down to the bottom here, these 2 Shermans survived that. I am so surprised those 2 Shermans survived that, as there was 3 Panzerschrecks and 2 Raketenwerfers down there. And very, very, very lucky Shermans indeed. And now going to bring this Raketenwerfer down here, but not too much going to be able to use on the Raketenwerfer, or with the Raketenwerfers. There's no armor for the OKW right now after losing that Panther. He has not gotten any additional armor. 44 to 322. Needs to take this victory point. Looks like he's going to do that with a couple conscripts. And looks like at the top here, some conscripts ooh-rahing up at the top. And I suppose I'll accept that ooh-rah, because as he's really, really low on victory points right now, and he needed to get there right now. So I suppose, in that case, yeah, why not? But otherwise, you really just don't want to do it for no reason. And Dushka's backed up a little bit here, chilling, covering the whole victory point there. And 1 man left here. Oh no, is he going to get out? And so low there. Very, very lucky. And if he wasn't a level 3, he definitely wouldn't have, without that received accuracy, he would not have made that. Both Grenadiers here are going to be firing away on the Dushka. And Dushka needs to change its position up a little bit. I'd like to see it inside the church. But he was taking some incendiary grenades, bundle grenades, etc. in the church there. Raketenwerfer now down at the bottom, facing the top. Again, no armor for the OKW, no armor on the way either.
Now stand at 300
Quad cannon now firing away, getting back from that. Raketenwerfer survives and will go back home to repair up. 2 Shermans need repair, just need to take all those conscripts and repair up. But the problem is, if he uses those conscripts to repair, he's not going to have conscripts out on the field to actually take these victory points when he needs. 3 victory points belong to the Russians, 38 and 283. He needs to bring out some engineers. That would be pretty nice to have some engineers on the field, so those could actually just sit and repair themselves, those Shermans and quad cannon. And meanwhile, his conscripts could actually be out doing work, taking things. And we have 2 Dushkas covering the center here. And I'm not sure if I recommend 2 machine guns at the same area. It doesn't really help all that much. I suppose it suppresses maybe a little bit faster, but really doesn't help all that much. I'd like to see a Dushka down here, perhaps behind this truck here, which would be covering the bottom victory point. And so in case any Storm Pioneers or just something lowly runs up there. Oh, and Sherman is destroyed there by a shoe mine by the looks of it. Very, very, very nice shoe mine emplacement. Loses a Sherman, but does have enough, just now has enough to bring in another Sherman, so he can just bring in another one. And that is the glory of Lend-Lease. And now 2 Fallschirmjägers moving into the center here. And we'll see what they decide to do, going down to the bottom. And this is why I would definitely suggest a Dushka down here, not 2 Dushkas in the center, as he's really not covering all that much. And I'm going to retreat this Raketenwerfer, but doesn't need that Raketenwerfer anyway. I suppose you don't want to give it back to your enemy, but just now bringing out some armor there for the OKW. And these troops here are eventually going to make it down to the bottom, and I really would have liked to see that Dushka down at the bottom. Again, hindsight's 2020 though, but still, that is just my analysis. Now up the top here, conscripts holding out behind the Sherman there, and the MG34 inside the building. Raketenwerfer now going to fire at the quad cannon, but the quad cannon is point blank, and they're taking big damage. Loses that.
A gun crew has been lost.
King Tiger now on the field and moving into the center now. The Russians in a little bit of trouble. Dealing with a King Tiger pretty much hard for just about anybody. And now pushing into the center. And we'll see what he decides to do. 2 Shermans, no match. Even 2 Shermans, no match for the Tiger B. And they're going to spot this and go, uh-oh. And they're going to have to get out of there as fast as possible. Looks like he's going to try and back up the Raketenwerfer there, facing the wrong way. Ooh, it takes another shot there from that. King Tiger is going to be pushing forward. And all these armored vehicles here are going to try and get through one little small area. And the King Tiger will finish off one of these Shermans. Going to throw an anti-tank grenade, but not going to do pretty much anything. And Sherman might be able to get a shot off. Take a good penetrating shot there before he loses it, so not too bad. But if they would have thrown that anti-tank grenade a little bit later, would have damaged the engine. It would damage the engine now. Down at the bottom, the OKW has taken that bottom victory point. Raketenwerfer now being brought over to try and deal with this King Tiger, but still not going to be enough. Fallschirmjäger's firing away. And here it's going to bring it right around the corner. Could have actually just put it in the house and would have been a lot safer. And loses that Raketenwerfer. Again, could have put it in the house there. Would have just pointed right out the window there. And now loses another conscript squad there to the Fallschirmjäger. Now 2 conscripts here just hanging around, and does have quite a bit of manpower. Could actually bring out a couple additional conscripts, or maybe even 3 or 4 engineers, just to have them run around and actually take territory out from under them. One tactic you can do against the Tiger B is just avoid the Tiger B. It's so slow, it takes so long to go across the map. Just try and play the avoid game, and then it turns into sort of makes the Tiger B useless if the Tiger B doesn't have any targets to attack. Storm Pioneer is going to repair that Tiger B all the way up. And now the center victory point here trying to be taken by the Fallschirmjägers, but the dual Dushkas there pin it pretty much instantly, and now need to get out of there. Those Volksgrenadiers here can, oh, and they get suppressed. That was very surprising how fast he set that up. I forgot how fast the Russians can set up their MGs since they are wheeled. And now the Sherman going down to the bottom here with the quad cannon. And looking pretty grim here. Now the Tiger B moving down to the bottom, and this is when you would want to just move back up to the top as it moves to the bottom. And these 2 Dushkas still in the wrong place. I'd like to see a Dushka down here. That would just stop any troops from taking that, or at least give them a hard time. At the very least, loses a conscript squad. I think I seen a conscript in there. There you go. There he is. He was crushed by the collapsing roof. And the Tiger B just doing work here on the Dushkas. Just need to pick those up and get out of there. And looks like he exits the game. GG's out. 33 points to 162. Jove, the winner there. As you can see, he left the game. And I think just Jove just kind of outplayed him. But it was a very close match. And I think Kodziro did a few things that could have been better. Again, one of these Dushkas down here would have been nice, as anything could have taken this while he was defenseless down here. A Stern Pioneer could have ran over here and just taken this, and that would have stopped that Stern Pioneer, forced it away, or at least given anything that comes down here a hard time. And then he could have came down here and retaken this, or just defended it either way. And now the big play up here that I seen earlier, he lost a Sherman and a Su-76, all due, in my opinion, to using URA too early. He URA'd all the way up here, it stopped here, then he got into a fight, and that Panther was was very low on health. Was lower than 75, and if he would have thrown an anti-tank grenade at that Panther, would have damaged the engine, which very much discourages players from going into battle with a damaged engine on a tank, because it's a great way to lose a tank. He would have backed off. That would have saved both the Sherman and the Su-76 for another day, but again, hindsight 2020. But I hope you guys enjoyed this replay, and I will see you guys next time.